Okay, now after Virtual County, this Virtual County and Victorson County, Texas, after, how some counties have, or cities or towns, they have their own like social media website. Well, Victorson County, Texas, they're kind of isolated from other places, and they like being isolated. They only have one other, well, there is one small county near them, but overall they're kind of isolated, and they like it. So they had their own social media website, and there were a bunch of geeks. That's how this county, one of the reasons this county is very rich and wealthy, because there are a bunch of computer geeks starting, decades before, when it wasn't cool to be one. Well, they had this really fantastic social media website, and they expanded. They decided they were going to let some of the one part of the county that they generally didn't allow in, not legally, according to them, how they say it, before. Well, they decided to let them in, and it just grew more and more. Well, another one, the one that was for that town, because that town, they have some people that were kicked out of theirs. The guy, mainly one guy, he decided he was going to go and make his own, and he did, and it became popular for the people who were basically not really shunned, not in the way you think of shunned, and it became popular for them. Well, when Virtual County opened to them also, he's in the way, Brett is his name, he's in the way, are they going to take away all his business? So he opened it up to the rest of the county, to people who were able to get on Virtual County, okay, and they weren't allowed to get on his, which was called the Outcast, okay, the Outcast Online, and it boomed too, just as he suspected. And so they both started booming, and what they started doing was to open up more forums, and this is something that they hadn't really previously done. It was mainly used for like advertisements for businesses, very little chit chat except for things going on in the county, those kinds of events and such. Well, they started opening up forums, message boards, where people could talk about various topics, and those started changing quite a bit, growing more and more on both, because the Outcast, he was more open to anybody could join. I don't need to see your ID, but the Virtual County, no, you had to go in and show your ID and prove that you are who you are, and that they would have record of knowing who did. But they all used pseudonyms, okay? They didn't use their real names. It was not allowed. And for any post, anything, unless you're, advertising for your business, of course, something like that. But you didn't use that same account for, if you made other posts. So they wanted people to be anonymous, because they were having troubles in the county with that people like the Outcasts, some of them, they were trying to cause trouble. So, got all that out. Okay, so basically they started booming, and they were at one time thinking that they would have, it started off in early 2020. They would have, since everything was pretty much locked down and people weren't working in person and many were working from home, that they have some troubles going on in the county, and they needed people also, anyway, to monitor what was being said, to make sure nobody was giving out any kind of misinformation or disinformation. And since many people were home, there was a lot of activity, and so they thought about hiring some of the, just hiring students and all this and that, if anybody found anything that was really bad, that led to some kind of conviction or jail sentence or whatever, fines, they would offer them some bonuses and some rewards depending on what it was, okay, instead of paying everybody. At first they were going to pay everybody that would work on it, but they saw that would be way too much, And so people were doing it at leisure. It was much, more beneficial to, the people, and they were paying. They weren't, if somebody come up with and said this looks suspicious, and it did look suspicious, they would pay them whatever it was for each kind of thing, of course, and they weren't paying extravagant, and they weren't paying, really low. It was, they were fair people. These people in Victorson County, they're fair. They're not greedy, that kind. They're not narcissistic. So, okay, in general, they're not narcissistic, but that's Virtual County, the Victorson County, and it's not that one area. And there were basically a couple of areas. One whole town. It's actually called the Outlaws, and it has a history. Not the Outcasts, but the Outlaws, and the people who were kicked off of the computer, that were making this Virtual County, some of them, and even before then, they moved to the Outlaws, and they call themselves the Outcasts. Okay, but that area, yeah, they're not allowed to buy property. Nobody outside of Victorson County is allowed to buy property within the county, except for the Outlaws. They're changing that, but unless they were a descendant, and they don't need to really buy property because they usually have inheritances, and it's been traditional since they were first. It was first founded, and they sign contracts when they turn 21. Sometimes a little older, just depends on the circumstances, and that basically they grow up knowing this has always been this way since the beginning of it, since it was founded. So that they don't question it. It's just part of their, the heritage, really, when it comes down to it. And they grew up in it. So, but anyway, so they are kind of starting to open up more as time goes by in various things. But these posts, these forums, and storyboards and stuff like that, it's becoming quite a bit. But it's also, in a way, becoming helpful. So now I'm going to get to, more background stuff done. By the way, this is hypothetical, fictional, all of it, part of a series, all of it. Read the disclaimers below this video on YouTube. But anyway, I'm going to start writing more of them and actually making videos, putting them up. I'm going to wrap this up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.